forever.
Yeah, we're right. We're on.
Is the owl on?
Now somehow.
There we go. Okay.
Right, streaming and recording, so you're on.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is the June meeting of the Manhattan Community Board Forest Cannabis Task Force. Just some housekeeping, as per our policy, we have a hybrid policy. It's on our website. It explains that committee members must be attending in person unless they have an extraordinary circumstance. And if they are, they would need to have their cameras on if they are attending virtually. We have no task force members that are attending virtually, so we're all here in the room. Also, our meetings are streamed live on YouTube and recorded, so you can review in perpetuity. Well, somewhat perpetuity, but it isn't enough.
Oh.
Okay, great. So we're gonna get right into it. First, we have,
Introduce yourself.
do you want that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, good members for the committee.
Do you really want to know who we are? Okay, yes, it's a public meeting, so we might as well be public about ourselves. I was trying to avoid social media, but hi, I'm Dolores Rubin, and I am here in the public eye on YouTube forever at a 3.4 task force meeting. Anyways, so I am currently chairing this task force.
Hi, I'm Sanford, I'm a member of the committee.
Hi, Rodney Washington, member.
Alan Osler, member.
Tina Nelson, member.
And might as well introduce our person in the room who.
I'm just a neighborhood resident.
Neighborhood resident.
Neighborhood.
All right. Hi, Brian Weber, neighborhood president. Okay, all kidding aside, so we have seen, for the first application that's coming here, we've actually had them on our agenda for the last few months. We did hear from them initially, 2 meetings ago, where they presented, and we felt that they may not have, done the outreach that we would have liked to see with the community in order to understand whether or not that they're a good fit for this location in the community. So we've asked for them to come back, and I do believe we have a representative. This is for J.G. Rosedale LLC, DBA Hudson Yards Cannabis at 303 10th Avenue, which is between 27 and 28. So for whoever is representing that application, if you can raise your virtual hand and we'll bring you over. Thank you, Matt. We'll bring you right over. Or more accurately, Jesse will bring you right over. Okay. Hi, Matt, welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes,
Well,
can you hear me?
Here.
this is John Bond.
Matt, are you able to hear us? Can you go?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Now we hear you.
Are you
Okay.
Are you able to come on camera?
I can, I'm in a workshop because of, the holiday. I have my children. So I'm trying to, I'm trying to avoid my kids. So I can come on camera. It's not a pretty sight.
That's fine. So what would be helpful to us is I just, hopefully we were not muted. I explained that this is a application that has come before us before. We asked for more community engagement before being able to opine. And if you could be so kind to introduce yourself, your relation to this application, and give us, for those that have not attended previously, an overview of what this applicant is looking to do at this location and some of the subsequent outreach that you may have done since we last spoke with her.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come back before the board and to kind of develop a more robust community engagement. Appreciate that very much. I think we are cognizant that you could have simply denied the application, so we appreciate the extra opportunity. My name is Matt Leonardo. I am the lawyer for JG Rosedale. I did the licensure. JG Rosedale is a LLC that is 100% owned by Jacqueline Gunn. Jackie is a service-disabled Native American veteran woman. She has previously run a radiology company. I think admittedly, she does not have strong ties to Community Board 4 and the neighborhood. One thing that I think is very, very important to Jackie is, you know, um, one, utilizing her license to advance criminal justice reform and change stigmas around cannabis consumption. Secondly, she is very community oriented and wants to become part of the fabric of this community, which is why we're here before you today. I had emailed to Jesse a community engagement plan that I think is substantially different than the prior one you had seen. There are a couple facets to that engagement. One obviously is outreach to the community organizations that were sent to us. It's my understanding that Jackie reached out prior to the the April meeting, engaged on May, I want to say 17th, and again on June 12th. In that community engagement plan, we identified a number of priorities. I think the top priority there is transparency with the community board and the various stakeholders. We plan to, not just obviously in the lead up to this meeting, but post this meeting as constituents and members of the community, hold community forums, hopefully with the help and participation of CB4. We hope to utilize some of the funds that we were receiving revenues to reinvest in the community, to reinvest in criminal justice reform programs, where we hope that we can bring individuals who've been impacted by prior cannabis enforcement into, jobs, community engagement, and the like. Why don't I pause there in case there's any questions?
Any questions so far? Do I keep hearing?
I just want to follow up on what you said. What criminal justice reform programs have you already invested in?
Well, we haven't, because what we plan to do is use revenues from the business, and the revenues that we have raised thus far have really been devoted to securing a lease location, which is very costly, and raising funds to do renovations to the space to make it compliant and secure.
Okay, and you mentioned community forums. Have
Yeah.
you done any community forums so far?
Again, we haven't. We have done mostly outreach virtually. We have, I think one thing that we are seeking to do, because I don't, I'm sure that you are aware, but the proposed location is roughly 530 feet away from a school. The name is slipping from my head. Avenue.
The Avenue.
The Avenue School.
The Avenue. Thank you very much. Apologies. And I think one thing that we think is really important is public safety. And what we have started, although we haven't really been able to do it because we have been, in discussions with OCM and with the community board to see if this location is even viable. But we would like to partner with the precinct to determine what additional security needs may be required, since we will be, I think, relatively close to a school, and we want, prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Um, you know, we think that's really our top priority right now is that kind of public safety. Following that, and again, if our location is determined viable both by this board and by the Office of Cannabis Management, what we'd like to do is host, at least for the first year of our opening, like a quarterly meeting to get feedback to see, if we're being good neighbors.
So my understanding is from what you presented to us and sent us previous to the meeting, is this is a plan in place for the future to ensure that there's open dialogue with the community to address in real time, relatively in real time concerns, issues, but also to provide education. Is that my understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, so Rodney, do you have any questions? I think I noted
Sure.
a look.
Hi, man. My name's Rodney Washington, and I've lived at 303 10th Avenue for almost 15 years. So we'll start off with, I am disappointed in the original application where it said that you would be reaching out to the residents. However, in this remake of the application, I see it's been removed. What was the thought behind reaching out to the residents?
Well, I think, obviously, I think it's very challenging for a cannabis business to enter a neighborhood, because I think that there is a lot of, um, feelings, positive or negative. And, where we wanted to be at the outset was to not take the residents by surprise. I think what we ran into, and this is really, this is a lot of this is my fault. Unfortunately, when you first addressed the application in April, I was on vacation, so this is I take the blame for being unprepared in April. But where I think what we changed is, the reason we wanted to reach out to the residents in the first instance, so that they weren't flat-footed about a possible cannabis dispensary going in. Obviously, we failed in that. I don't think that was our intent. Was to, was to fail in that. But we obviously welcome. You know.
I'm sorry, so what was the decision
Suggestions.
in not reaching out for this meeting? I get that it didn't happen in April, but what's the reason for this time?
Well, the reason we wanted to reach out at the outset was that, so that we didn't catch the residents flat-footed. The meeting went forward, and we thought you would have notice. And I think that watching the April meeting, I thought it was clear that the residents knew.
Okay, thank you. Also in the application, you mentioned that you met with Block Association 30th Street. Is that the same as West Chelsea Block Association? And the reason I bring that up is you noted that in the application, so I'm a little curious. I'm not familiar with that association. I am familiar with the West Chelsea Block Association, so I'd like to know who you spoke with in that conversation.
I don't think that we had said that we had
It's in your application,
the
newest one.
the list of stakeholders that we had received is the list that we reached out to. So
Right.
if we had a mistake in outreach, that was where we went off the
No,
list.
no, it's not that it was a mistake. You noted, not only did you reach out, but you specifically said 30th Street Association. So I'm curious, like, what is the 30th Street Association? Like, I may not be aware of it. That's what I'm asking. And if you don't know, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know.
Sure, and then, so you're across the street from a park, you say 539. I looked today, and it depends on the Google map, it says 500. So we understand the letter of the law, what about the spirit of the law? What's your thought behind choosing this location?
Yeah, that's a great question. The reason I know that it's 531 feet away or thereabouts is because we got a survey plotted to ensure compliance. Um, I think really, what many applicants are running into is it was very, very challenging to find compliant real estate. Um, I think we think that the neighborhood is excellent, has incredible commercial potential. Certainly, if we could have been an extra 500 feet away from a school, we would have preferred that. This is just, really the only um, landlord that we could negotiate with.
Any conversations with Hudson Market that will be your neighbor?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
So just piggybacking on Rodney's question, from what I'm understanding is that it was made very clear in April that that there was a resident in the room who's still in the room now who had asked very good questions that evening. And since that time, you and the applicant have not done any outreach to folks in the building to talk about the security plan or things specifically, is that correct?
That's correct. I think we are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. We have, our application with OCM. We've had a very many rounds of negotiation and discussion about whether the location will be compliant and what the side entrance of the school means and whether or not we can safely open. And it's very it's to be frank, it's very difficult to plan for multiple stages of construction, um, outreach and secure the location while we're not even positive that we can move forward yet with the location.
Understood. Any other questions? We're gonna go around that for the first one. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Alan Osterman. I had asked Jacqueline last time here, being that she isn't quite a business owner, but not much experience in cannabis, about who was going to manage the facility. And I think the response was that they were looking for a manager with experience or someone with experience in on. Has that happened?
No, it hasn't. It similarly is difficult to staff up when your future is uncertain. And I think in terms of staffing, I think without a doubt we need a seasoned operator. As you mentioned, Jackie doesn't have any experience in cannabis. I think the ideal for Jackie is to be I don't want to say supervising. We want to have an operator, but we want Jackie to be more of like a liaison to the community, so that, I mean, ultimately she's the one responsible, she's the licensee. So I think that she would want to focus her efforts on where we can improve.
I understand. Another question, there was a question raised last week by a colleague of ours regarding the lease and deposits and security deposits that had been given to the landlord. There wasn't a follow-up on that. I think some of us might have felt that that money might be lost or kept by the landlord should we not get permission to operate. But you do have, I'm looking at, you do have a lease contingency, so is Jackie gonna lose any money if she doesn't prevail on this?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lease contingency that gives us kind of a reduced rent during a period of time, but we still have to pay. In addition, I think there are other pieces in the lease that, there's a good guy clause that kicks in after roughly 2 years. There are protections for her as a tenant, but we're paying.
Dr. Rosedale, does the lease contingency state that the landlord's going to return the security deposit and any advance rent if you don't get an option on this space?
I'm sorry, I don't have the lease in front of me. That wasn't my recollection, but you may be correct. If you're reading the lease, I don't have it in front of me.
All right, good.
So a couple questions here and, just obviously, one of the things that we've spoken to many applicants about is getting guidance, support and understanding the industry. And clearly she's attained you as a lawyer. Can you provide us a little bit of information about your experience in covering cannabis from the legal side and help us understand whether or not, you navigating, for someone who doesn't have that experience, can provide a little bit of a, we'll call it support to fill in those gaps.
Sure. I guess what would you like to know? Would you like to know, my
Do you
my
specialize in
cannabis?
Yeah, do you specialize in cannabis? Have you, do you have, any experience, from a different state in cannabis? Are you specifically steeped in cannabis law?
Sure, sure. I am a lobbyist and an attorney. I represent legislatively the Cannabis Farmers Alliance, which is the statewide cultivators. On the legal side, I represent roughly 3 dozen dispensaries across various areas in the state. Um, I've done licensure applications for cultivators, processors, distributors, dispensaries, and I'm going in my 4th year of teaching cannabis law at Albany Law School.
Well, that's quite a pedigree, so that's helpful. Thank you. I think that would have probably been good to tell us on the onset.
I'm sorry.
And the reason why I say that is, again, it's a new industry,
Yeah,
right? Everybody is starting this from scratch in this state, and it's no secret that the rollout of cannabis in this state has not been ideal. So understanding that somebody is working with someone that knows this industry as it's developing is helpful for us to understand. Thank you. I think most importantly, though, the question is whether or not a cannabis operator in a location makes sense. And so one of the things that I'd like to hear from you, if perhaps it's been articulated by Jackie, why, I know you mentioned this area is good commercially, but why do you think that cannabis makes sense at this location, in this community, now?
that's a great question. I think first of all, I would say, unlike many other areas of Manhattan, this area does not have a saturation of illicit stores, which is really important. Secondly, in terms of licensees, again, unlike many other areas of Manhattan and New York City overall in general, there is a positive population density and commercial opportunity versus number of licensed dispensaries that are open. I think very, very challenging to find compliant real estate at all in New York City in particular. Having, to be honest, it's like kind of a needle in a haystack. To find the needle is something that, as an entrepreneur, I think you have to take that risk.
Thank you. Any other questions from task force members? Okay, we're gonna open it to the public. I know we have someone here in person. Do you want to say something, Brian, or no?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief. To be honest, I wasn't even here to comment on this. But Matt, you're an attorney and a lobbyist. And I think the best answers we got from you were answers that Dolores dragged at. It does not seem as if you've done ample diligence on this location, nor have an understanding of the community, nor does your client. And all I've heard about is the challenges with opening a space and giving us these answers. And I'm here to talk about another location, and I've come with knowledge of police reports and facilities in the community around that. I'm just a community resident doing this on my own time. So I would say that when you want to bring a place to our community, you've got to come with the knowledge and support of the community around you. And hearing that there has been no outreach to the community on this location, and I'm very familiar with the location. It's across from the park. It's right near the Avenue School, which you should have known the name of. I don't, even if it's 539 feet, 39 feet past the 500-foot limit, it is an entirely inappropriate location for an inexperienced applicant in the cannabis space to pursue. And I think it's really troubling that you come here and market this as an individual very concerned about social justice. I'm like, this is a business at the end of the day. That's either going to work because it makes money at this location and works well with the community, or it doesn't. All of the other stuff, all of the advocacy is secondary. And I just find it really distasteful that it's being marketed this way. The other thing too is, do you know what precinct this is in?
I'm sorry, what precinct?
Police precinct.
I don't off the top of my head, I thought it was
I
four,
can
but
tell you, I have to look it up, it's 10th precinct. All right, so if you're gonna come and talk about working with the police precinct, you should know what that precinct is and how you can work with that precinct. I just think that should be sort of standard, what we expect. You have to understand, we go to business license permitting for bars, and this level of rigor is anticipated by our community in advance, and you know, I'm just very troubled by the presentation of this applicant.
Thank you.
Doesn't bode well.
Thank you, Brian. I know we have a couple of people that are in attendance virtually, that may want to speak on this. So if you did want to, ask any questions or make any comments, you can raise your virtual hand and Jesse will bring you over. No, the folks that are, here, we've had visiting before.
Yeah, Jack.
So I'll mention this one more time, just to give an opportunity, anyone from the public attending virtually, if you would like to speak, ask questions, you can raise your virtual hand, we'll bring you over. Okay, so no one wants to speak. You know, Brian, brought up some points that I think that throughout the time that we've been in the cannabis task force that we are focused on. We wouldn't see applicants if they didn't have, at the beginning, when there were so many, if they didn't have location secured, if they didn't have a security plan, if they didn't have legal representation, and these are a lot of things that we do as screening. But I think at the end of this conversation, it's about whether or not we're comfortable with this operator at this location. So let's open that up to discussion. And if someone already feels strongly, you can already make a motion for recommendation or denial. Happy to discuss though.
I'm strongly against. And really disappointed with respect to, we told something in the application, especially about the reaching out to the residents. It never came in June, just really disappointing. It would be a denial for me.
Okay, so you're making a motion?
No, I'd leave it open
Okay,
for discussion.
discussion.
I thought you wanted to say something.
I'll make a motion to deny.
Okay, I have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? Second, okay. All right, so, all those in favor of denial? Anyone opposed? Present not eligible? Okay, Matt, sorry, we did deny, and, we wish your applicant the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening. Okay, so we have a second applicant. No, this is a tentative presentation.
It's not there yet.
I know,
No.
but is it a real presentation or is it tentative that they want to present?
No, they're here. I only put them tentative because
You weren't sure.
I wasn't sure that they were gonna be able to make it. They were, I should be. Yeah.
Okay, so just to set this up, we have actually seen this applicant before at various locations. Danny works in, the community, already, has a business and has been looking, to secure a spot for cannabis. And so Danny is back. I don't know if there's anybody else with you, Danny, representation or anybody else that you need for us to bring over?
I'm not sure if Hoffman is here, but I'm okay by myself. Today's I apologize. Today's my daughter's bar mitzvah, so that's why I came late. I apologize.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Okay, well.
Okay,
Congratulations
so
on that. Thank you.
I
So
appreciate it.
Please let us know about this location that you're looking to open and, we already, know you, but it would be good for folks that have not heard from you before to get a little bit of that background, that may be tuning in now.
Okay, thank you for your time. So this location is 323 West 42nd Street. We're gonna be doing flowers, gummies, vapes, pre-rolls. They're gonna be cameras, they're gonna be alarm. It's gonna be connected straight to the police stations, the precinct with the third-party securities. You gotta be 21 and over to get inside the facility. We're gonna have a security guard outside. The POS system is linked to the OCM system. Receipt to sale, the tracking protocol system. So everything gonna be trackable. Everything that we buy to the store is gonna be traceable, and everything's gonna be sold. We're gonna track with a system with OCM. Everything's gonna be audited through the OCM system. Okay, so basically, as you guys are aware, it's right across the street from the Port Authority. There's 8,000 buses per day. There's 225,000 people on an average weekday and more than 65,000 people a year. I know you guys are aware that Port Authority is doing a facelift. So it's doing a brand new, which is going to be beautiful there. And basically, I know Jesse was concerned about the feat with other dispensaries. OCM, there's other dispensaries that I did forward to Jesse with 300 feet, with 6,000 population. It's called Blaze. That was last Monday approved, 519 Columbia Street in Hudson, New York, with only 600 population. It was another in Soho dispensary in Queens, New York, Queens Boulevard, 107-29, 71st Street in Forest Hills. The population was less than 20,000 people. And that's also 303 feet from another dispensary. I know 405 West 39th Street was 302 feet with 356 West 40th Street. Nichols 797 8th Avenue is less than 1,000 feet from from, um, from, um, Charlie Fox.
So Danny, can you also just provide, for those that aren't aware of where your other business is located and your familiarity with the community?
Yes, so I'm involved with Red Cross, which is on 49th Street and 10th Avenue. I have several Cohen's Fashion Optical. I'm a very great, I've been involved with Cohen's Fashion Optical since I was 20 years old. I still have stores with Cohen's Fashion Optical, several stores. I have stores in Times Square on 42nd Street. I have stores on 57th Street. I have stores in Long Island. That's where I'm at right now in Long Island. I have stores in malls and 50 and Smith Haven Mall. I have stores in the Bayshore Mall. So I have a lot of stores. So I'm great, and I'm a good operator, basically. So I've been operating retail my whole life, basically.
Great,
So
thank you.
so I treat this as a retail store, as a health provider, basically. That's what I do. I'm a health provider.
Great, and also I think you had mentioned to us that you were taking some courses at SBS, is that correct?
Absolutely, that is correct. I'm still very active with SBS with courses. I'm very involved with doing courses. Yes, which is very important for myself. Yes.
Great. Thank you. So we're gonna open up to questions here. Any questions from the task force? For Danny, who we've now seen, I think we've seen you 4 times, so. And we're here with you on a very special day, a very special occasion, so. Thank you for
Yesterday, I
spending time with
I was
us.
in the Gracie Mansion with New York management and the New York mayor's office doing an event for June for today, Juneteenth. Yes, I'm very busy. I keep myself busy.
That's great. Okay, Alan, you had a question?
Thank you, Danny. Mazel tov to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Who's Steve DeLucia?
Okay, so I am purchasing a license. So that's my partner. So that's his license, and I'm purchasing his license. We're partnering together.
Is he a partner?
So that's my partner. I'm sorry, what is it?
Is he a partner in your other businesses as well?
No. I'm purchasing right now. It's gonna be 49. I'm gonna have 49%. He's gonna have 51%. And when OCM allows me to purchase the other 51%, I'm gonna buy his other 51%.
And just briefly, what is his experience in this? In this type of business?
I believe he's a landscaper. Based on his email. Based on his email. Honestly, I never met that person. So I'm having full control. I'm gonna run the store fully. So I have full control.
You're 49%.
With the option to purchase the rest.
Yeah,
So,
I'm investing the money. I'm the investor. I'm everything in the store.
Okay.
so I think, one of the questions I think that raises for us is whether or not that's something that OCM allows. We're not familiar with that.
They do. This is what everybody does. That's how the procedure works.
Okay, so again, we're not experienced with that, so what you're explaining to us is that there's someone who already has a license. You are now partnering with that person, agreeing initially to buy 49% of the license that they own so that you can partner to open up a location at 8th Avenue, around 8th Avenue and 42nd Street, and then fully operate based on your retail experience.
Yes.
Okay, great. Other questions from task force?
Sure, just for clarification, the proposed location was an illegal cannabis store?
It was an illegal store for 2 years. The sheriff shut them down recently, and then the landlord got possession of it about a month ago.
Sorry, but is it the same landlord that allowed the illegal store?
The landlord didn't know that it's going to be an illegal store. The way they did it is a convenient, and then they got tricked. So the way the lease looked at it, it was a convenience smoke shop. So the landlord wasn't aware that it's an illegal. So the landlord got tricked to it, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
So what you're saying there is that as we've seen, or we've heard in other cases, that this is not a landlord that was complicit with this business and
That is
worked with
correct.
law enforcement to get it shut down? Is that your
That is
understanding?
correct. He was cooperating with with the sheriff's department. That is correct.
Thank you. Tina?
Visually, I'm trying to understand, there's no other cannabis store on the same block?
There is two other illegal cannabis stores across the street on 42nd and 9th Avenue. Yes, there is.
Okay, those are illegal, but the legal one,
There is not legal, there's no legal stores, there's no legal stores anywhere.
So is there concern that why is the proximity an issue?
yeah, I mean,
So proximity for cannabis dispensaries is not done by the same measurement as by schools or houses of worship. The schools and houses of worship is defined to be on the same street or road. And within 500 feet, a dispensary has to be not within 1,000 feet diameter.
okay,
So that's why 39th Street, that's why the one on the other two that Danny mentioned would hit. I brought to their attention, because when I saw the location, I did a perimeter check, and two of them popped up. As saying ones that we had actually already reviewed and that had already been approved by OCM.
And those are the
So-
ones that Danny
How many-
outlined.
How many feet away, I know it's less than 1,000, but how many feet away, 'cause 39 is actually 3 blocks away from this location.
I screenshot it and I put it into you guys'
I can tell you, one of them is 740 feet, I believe, and the other one is 690 feet, I believe. But it's not visible. You cannot see it, and it's one is on 40th Street and 9th Avenue, which is very far, and the other one is on 8th Avenue and 44th Street, which is HQ. So it's very far, especially this is across the street from Port Authority. So anybody that walks in Port Authority, they want to just very convenient, especially in the health wise, they want to just grab and continue going to their, if they're going catching, the airport, the shuttle. So this is very convenient for them.
just- The numbers I'm pulling are the one, and Danny's predominantly right, it's 640 for one and 746 for the other.
Okay,
And those numbers are coming off of OCN's map, or their map.
okay.
Yeah.
So Tina, that explains when Danny first opened, he was explaining where these other locations were, but also giving us some statistics on the type of traffic in this area that he knows from being a retailer, thinking that the saturation for legal cannabis is not there because of the location.
Good.
So that's what I understand, Dan. Is that what you were trying to convey to
Yeah.
us?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from task force members? Okay, so I know that we have someone here from the public that'd like to speak, and it's about this location. So Brian?
Yeah, so, Mazel tov, Danny.
I
Sorry to
appreciate
hear
it. Thank you.
today. Hope your family had an enjoyable event and hopefully you can go back to celebrating with them. I'm a resident of the neighborhood. I would say to you, you seem like you're a reasonable operator who is well versed in retail and wants to comply. But please find another location, and here's why. 42nd Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. This year alone has had, and just year to date, 6 months in, has had 1,666 911 calls, 625 of those were for crimes in process. There have been 424 arrests just between 8th and 9th Avenue on West 42nd Street. Of those, 40 of those were for narcotics activity, 29 were for weapons possession. And just days ago, not days ago, last week, there was a homicide doors away from where you're proposing the shop. This area has significant challenges. This is not a reflection on you as an operator, but this is a reflection on the appropriateness of this location. I also want to add in that Geffner House, which is supportive housing, is located at 351 West 42nd Street. also steps from your proposed location. Gapner House is supportive housing for individuals with mental health issues and also substance abuse issues. I do not think that immediate proximity to your store is healthy for them. Additionally, it is also next to Project Find, which is a senior center that provides meals and community space for the senior community. Interestingly, Project Find was formed in I think the 1970s to aid an elderly population referred to as the sitters that would sit in the Port Authority bus terminal daily for air conditioning or heat. And they formed a nonprofit for them that was originally housed in 9th Avenue, is now on West 42nd Street. So given that we have these social services here, this highly disproportionate amount of crime and quality of life conditions. And you didn't mention that it's directly around the corner from Caffrey Playground and LaSalle School. I think this location isn't healthy for the community. And even though you can't spot the other cannabis stores from this location, the idea behind the proximity is that no neighborhood should be oversaturated with a singular type of usage such as cannabis. People constantly complain about having ATMs and banks on every corners. We don't need cannabis shops on every corners either. So it is not something that is promoting the health of this community.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, do we have anyone else from the public? No, we don't actually have anybody else here. Okay. So the one thing that I would like to note to the task force is, last 2 months in a row, we've had to opine on situations of proximity. While this proximity was actually, alerted by Jesse being very diligent and noting that this is an issue. Clearly, we know that we've learned that there's a process that somebody can apply for proximity relief. That's something that can be done, but we as a board did vote on a letter that took a position saying that we did not want a change in the rules to reduce the proximity and thought that the 1,000 feet was there for this reason that Brian just mentioned, to ensure that there's not a saturation of cannabis. So I just wanted to remind everyone that that's a position that we took as a board, and it was discussed in the last two task force meetings, and it is relevant to the question here. So I open it up to discussion on the application. And again, this is understanding it is a current licensee that Danny will be buying into that license to operate at 323 West 42nd, which is between 8th and 9th Avenue. You have a comment too? You're allowed to speak.
Right,
Yes,
I actually have a question. Can I ask a question?
of course you can ask.
Danny, this is what I understand, a couple questions off on the application, because this is the thing that confused me when it came to us, right? Is, and I think, Alan asked about this, Stephen is listed as the applicant. I mean, does he have, I understand your goal is to own the entire license. And again, I defer to OCN, you've never dealt with that issue. But I mean, for the sake of the time being, you're asking us to approve the application with his name on it, even though, you know, he's the majority owner. I mean, is he planning to play any role in this business whatsoever?
Well, we're making a contract that I'm gonna have full control on it, that we're gonna have a closing date on it, that I'm buying it from him, and when OCM is gonna allow it, I think he has to hold on to it, I believe 20 months. Maybe there's
So-
15 months left, and then I can close on the remaining 50.
Right, so, okay, so let's just say that for 20 months, close to 2 years, this gentleman will have the license. And
Well, we're partners, so I'm gonna be added on the TPI.
right, but I'm saying does he is he planning to play any role?
No.
Is he taking any leadership, is he playing any?
Nothing.
In the business whatsoever?
Nothing.
Okay, and your knowledge of him is limited to an email and in terms of
But
past working experiences, whether he knows anything about this business or wanting to be part of this business is.
he doesn't want to be part of it. And this is normal. That's how people sell the license. That's how they purchase licenses.
So, and then my other question, just so I for clarity say, Jeffrey Hoffman is listed as the attorney. I definitely have corresponded with Jeffrey on a couple different applications, as you know. And including this one, is he representing both of you in this situation?
He's representing the seller. The seller somehow found Jeffrey.
The seller being
The,
Steven.
Steven.
Okay, so this was a matchmaking situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know Steven myself. I found Steven through a broker.
got it. Understood.
That's helpful, thank you.
Yeah, this is a whole other world.
Yeah, it's,
controlling this under?
Yeah.
so, we're reacting, Danny, not because of your situation, we're reacting because, again, I think that this entire rollout's been difficult as it is, but understanding that a normal course of operation would be that those that have obtained license are now selling it or partnering with other folks is new to us, so we're
But
trying
this
to.
is, I understand, and this is what people do. It's normal. Like when you go online and you Google New York City cannabis license for sale, there's a whole bunch of licenses, like brokers are selling licenses. So this is a normal transaction.
Understood. We appreciate, I'm sorry.
We appreciate you providing us that information. I am
Yeah.
of a generation that doesn't believe everything on Google, but we do believe you. It's just we have not experienced it, so our reaction is just not being familiar.
No, I
Yes,
understand.
Yeah, thank you for the education.
No, of course. Of course.
I would like to see you open up your own shop.
I appreciate it. I'm also waiting for my own license. I'm waiting for my own license with OCM.
Okay, as soon as you get that license, find a spot and come back to us. I think you make
I
a
will.
great out there, that you'd be very good for the community.
I appreciate it. Thank
I
you.
one really couldn't vote for this, given all the other aspects of this, with the radius and with the radius of where it is and the street that it is, what's happening on the street, as you heard.
Well, there's the Raw Hotel, so that's why on 40, on 8th Avenue. So there's a whole bunch of issues over there.
It's still a rough street, and
Yes.
it's tragic that it encompasses just one block of the city.
But also just across the street, you have two illegal shops, and people. There's a whole bunch of gang members, and I sent Jesse pictures of people. They have chairs sitting outside and soliciting people, and the building next door of 360. And people don't know what to do in that situation.
yeah.
Maybe it's a good reason not to be in that 323
Right,
spot.
we understand and we're very familiar with the illicit, and it's something that as a community, through other channels, people are working to try to limit their existence. But Danny, we're gonna discuss now as a task force and come up with a decision here, so just give us a moment. Sorry, Sandra, you have another question? Please.
Task force discussion. I think this is a good application. I do not feel too concerned with the distance. It was helpful for me to understand like the location on 44th Street and 39. Like knowing that area is probably one of the densest locations of both commercial and residential activity in the world. So a few blocks is literally thousands of people. So I mean, from a market perspective, there's a market, but also from a just like, does it feel like they're stacked next to each other? No, there may be, only so many feet, but there are literally hundreds of other businesses that you would walk by going from one to the other. So I don't feel like, it wouldn't feel to me like, just because the whole area is so dense, having shops a little bit closer together doesn't feel like a big concern. And I think Danny, like clearly knowledgeable operator, knowledgeable of this area, like knows the like the building owner is taking photos, knows the competition. So there's a contrast to even like the last applicant, like, you know, that's definitely something I look at, and I'm seeing it here. And then in terms of like 42nd Street, you know, it does have like, right, thank you for coming with those statistics, that is helpful to come with like data. That said, I do feel that like, well, two things. One is I feel having a responsible operator is a good way to get rid of the illegal shops. Like that's gonna be the most
And
motivating
that's
person.
the motive behind that.
Danny,
Give him a moment.
let us have our conversation, please, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Good.
And yeah, and the other thing is, I just feel it is a very like. This is a very active street. Yes, there is some, you know, I mean, there is problematic activity going on there, but I don't think. I don't like. It doesn't feel like an unsafe location in a way that there are. You know, maybe parts of the district that just have less foot traffic or are just entirely residential. Where, or you at night maybe feel more unsafe. That's not what 42nd Street feels like. It's literally one of the busiest streets in the city, maybe in the world. There's always, you know, many eyes on the street at any time of day. There's the entire population of Port Authority, of just like working professionals who are around there. So I don't think that. A high amount of, you know, a disproportionate high amount of crime is occurring, I like believe the statistics, but. In the context of the overall busyness of the avenue, I don't feel it is like an unsafe location or a location where. You know, one cannabis shop is going to overwhelm the overall, you know, so much going on, you're not even gonna notice it's there.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is that you think that there's merit in this location and you have you have confidence in this operator.
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other comments? Tina?
Can I just get clarification again? I don't care, but putting aside the statistics, is there social services?
Yes,
And what's the proximity of that social service?
There's two social service facilities on the same block. They're on the same block.
there's
So-
that's the way.
Yeah, so we're talking between 8th and 9th. We know it's a very long avenue, but they're all right.
What is the address of the cannabis shop again?
Oh, the Cannabis is 323.
323, okay, so,
Yeah.
Geffner House is at 351.
Houses of.
Supportive housing, for.
Mentally ill and and drug dependence.
People in recovery, addiction recovery, former drug users. And 331, which is even closer to the shop,
Project Pine.
is Project Pine, which is the senior community center, provides meals and place for seniors to spend time, serves sort of low income seniors. And it's also community spaces for meetings.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Alan?
Yeah, just to follow up on the proximity. I think the issue is, it is or it isn't. So I think once you, once you start opening up, well, it's only 50 feet less, or it's 20 feet less, or whatever it is. You open yourself up, you open up the committee to processing applications that are 10 feet away, 5 feet away. You start to play with the numbers about what it is, rather than, if they change the law, they change the law. It's
I don't
something that-
entirely disagree with you that like. Opening it up to. Like. If you approve some applicants who are less than 1,000 feet, it does make it, you know, more, I mean, we can reject what we want, but it does make it more tenable for other applicants to come in. But there is the 500-foot limit, which is still the OCM,
It's 1,000.
but there's the proximity relief. Even with proximity relief, there is still a 500-foot minimum distance, which is substantial. Like that is, for example, for schools, it's and I forget the other protected classes, schools and churches, I think.
Churches.
It's already only 500 feet, so I think like.
Well, it's.
If it is, and schools and churches actually, it is sort of in some ways more.
We don't.
Even more restricted because it's on the same street.
We don't represent us, we represent the community.
No,
The
but
community relies on us.
I'm saying I'm not.
It's 1,000 feet.
I'm not as concerned about, I'm not concerned about this like escalating to a point where we're approving applicants that are 50 feet apart or next door neighbors.
Why not?
Because OCM has stated, when they said we're doing proximity relief, they also said. we're changing it to, you can have proximity relief to be within 1,000, but still at least 500.
Because they haven't changed it yet.
Okay, we have, I mean,
They may not change.
we have to go with their stated policy.
No, we, the policy is 1,000, is
Because it's
the range is 1,000.
It's 1,000.
Yeah, but
It's a policy.
So I will just say that also just the point being that the idea would be that if it went down to 500 feet. People would still be able to apply for proximity relief under 500 feet, we would still be getting those recommendations, so if we're already saying. You know, whatever it may be, if this is what I brought up months ago, if you remember, I was saying if we wanted to start making a policy for ourselves, because we are going to see this. We're gonna see Danny's application, similar to the application we saw last month, right, for the, that was a clear proximity relief.
Are we, just as a question about OCM's process? There's multiple proposals from OCM on the floor, it sounds like they are approving applications that are in line with these proposals, even though they're not like
No.
official yet.
No,
So
No.
there's a, to clarify then, this is a good question for Danny. Danny, you're not requesting proximity relief, you're actually, you are applying to OCM and asking for a waiver, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So right now, there is this process in which the applicants are going to OCM, saying, I know I'm under 1,000 feet. And I'm asking OCM for a waiver, they're getting overrun with waivers. OCM's reaction to that was to then to create proposal of changing the rules. Down from 1,000 feet in every different population, I mean, other population cities is much different, but for the city, it's 1,000 feet. Their proposal is, no, we don't wanna deal with all these waivers, we're gonna drop it to 500 feet. If you want it under 500 feet, you have to get a proximity relief and come before the community board.
And it's proximity relief, the same thing as a waiver or different?
It's basically, it's the same, proximity relief is similar, but it's putting more creating more stringent rules, saying that they have to. So now OCM is saying, well, now all of a sudden, we do really care about community board's opinion under 500 feet, between 500 feet and 1,000 feet. Right.
so they have to demonstrate that there's a community need for that relief.
But I will just say, as
Okay.
Alan said, we are on record for supporting 1,000 feet. And so, and we have certainly denied other applications that have come to us that we found out were under 1,000.
So
And I think, I mean, part of my thinking is like. You can look at a map of the district and where. Cannabis shops have opened, or like have a approved license and will be opening. And I mean, you just draw the overlapping circles, it is true, like there is just not that many locations. There's maybe some on like 11th and 12th, but on the like retail corridor, there's almost nothing left. That is within 1,000 feet, and I think, I mean, it does not feel, it feels like there's a lot of cannabis shops, but I think still the majority are illegal. If you just replaced like two illegal shops with like one legal shop, you would have substantially more legal shops, but less overall, and so I think. I'm not really concerned that with 500 feet, we will be overrun. I think, you know, if they start giving out waivers for.
500 feet is only one block.
Or, you know, 200 feet, like multiple, there are 2, 3, 4 a block, like, yes, that's a concern, but I think. That is a hypothetical, we have to deal with the problem that's in front of us.
Exactly, so I want to bring it back to what's in front of us. So what we're hearing here is essentially, you are expressing because of the location and the density, et cetera, that it's not that problematic. And you're bringing up more of a board policy concern is that we have a position. And by recognizing that we already understand that this is less than 1,000 feet, that is actually negating.
And we
the
also
policy.
medical, and I'm also a medical as well.
Danny, give us a moment, please. So that's basically what we have here. It's, you're citing, taking a look just at the circumstance of
Yeah, that's the density of
density,
like,
and you're
square
talking
foot
about
second
policy.
area.
So I just wanted to clarify that. I know that Tina wanted to ask something, then I'll come back to you, Rodney. Go ahead, Tina.
Actually, I didn't wanna ask, I just did wanna say, I understand it's important, if we were gonna make an exception, this might be the place to do it. My problem is I cannot get past the fact that there is this social services on this block. And I just can't imagine it being a good location, I cannot.
I think that is, that if I were to like vote against this, that would be my main reservation. I feel like I feel overall that I'm still in favor of it, but I agree with you. I think that is that is a concern that I don't like have a reason why I would dismiss it. I think that is a valid concern with this application and would certainly be a challenge that, any attempting to where that location would have to deal with.
Rodney?
Sure, so I agree with both Sanford and Alan. Danny, I think you would be a great applicant. I think it's a bad location. It's not the right time. Like Tina, I agree, the social services bothers me, but also I think it should be more than 1,000 feet. The future of this is, we are gonna be saturated with cannabis stores, which I don't believe we need. But, yeah, so I would say you seem like a strong applicant. I remember you from before. And then it's also convoluted with this 4951. He's not speaking in front of us. We see you, again, we think you're a good applicant, but again, it's a little complicated for me, convoluted. But again, yeah, it's gonna be.
It's just want to raise one important thing, not one way or the other.
Yeah.
329 West 42nd Street, Holy Cross Church, which I forgot to mention. Project Find is in the basement of it, but there is a church.
It's a sanctuary. It's under M3. That's not a church.
Not a
Church is
church.
M1. If you look under the building department, it's recognized under M3. It's not a church.
Okay,
It's still
thank you.
listed as one, people get services there, but
You walk by, it's not a church.
Yeah.
it still says there's services.
In any case, obviously, I think that we all are recognizing that we appreciate Danny and the work that he does, not only in this community, but other communities. We recognize that he's a business owner and he sees the opportunity, and we appreciate that you're doing all the homework and you're working very hard to actually make this happen.
I understand. You have to understand. OCM gives 300 feet last month to another, to 6,000, 6,000 population. This is 250,000 people on a weekday.
Understood, Dan.
So they're giving, I understand. I'm just saying they're giving proximity to 300 with another, another dispensary.
Understood, and we appreciate that perspective, but again, what we are tasked with here is to think about the appropriateness for our community and what our community would be looking for here, so I'm hearing some varying opinions. I'm hearing that there are some issues that you do have only because of the social services, but anyone feels strongly enough
But
to
the
make.
same I understand, but the same
Danny, give us a moment. Danny, give us a
because
moment.
the
Anyone-
same location had an illegal dispensary for 2 years.
Understood.
And across the street, there's two illegal dispensaries.
Danny, I don't wanna have to mute you. Please let us continue this conversation.
Tina,
I'm ready to make a motion.
Please.
Deny.
Second.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor to deny and we have a second. All those in favor of denial? All those opposed? Abstaining?
It's you?
It's me.
Okay.
Okay, so Danny, sorry, we cannot overcome some of the concerns that we had. It is not you.
I know,
it
but
is-
we're trying to do this for the public, and that's the thing. This is the population. This is convenience for the public, and that's
Danny,
where it's for.
Danny, the vote has been taken. You are more than welcome to attend the full board meeting. This will take place in July. July 23rd is the full board meeting. You're more than welcome to speak at the public session.
No,
at
I
that
get
point.
it. I understand, but this is convenience for the public, and this is the perfect location for the public with as many people that's there for the public. You have a train right there. When you look at it, there's a train in the corner of the location. So this is a perfect place for the public. So I don't know. Are we trying to help the public, or are we trying to help? I don't know who we're trying to help at this point.
Danny, I think this committee has heard your applications multiple times.
I get it.
If you get it, then you get it, right?
So,
I understand. I understand, and I thought that we're here for the community.
So Danny, let me just outline a few things that are more concerned than the health proposal for the community. Again, I think the fact that this is not a process we're familiar with, where people are buying licenses, that is troublesome. We are not hearing from the person who actually has this license. We're hearing from you. Additionally, hold on, Danny. Additionally, we have concerns because of this location for various reasons. This is not about you, and again, that's what I mentioned. We have confidence that you want to do right by this community, and we would like to see you succeed. This location, this time, it is not something that this task force feels comfortable with passing. It will go to our full board. Our full board meeting this month will be July 23rd. That's when the board will take a position on it, which would be final. You're more than welcome to come and speak for 2 minutes in that public session if you would like to provide additional information about what you're looking to do at that time.
Okay.
So we
I
thank
mean,
you.
it's my license. I have full control of it, but okay. Okay. All right, that's fine. All right, I
Thank you, Dan.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have some old and, actually, it's not old, it's sort of new business, new business
A long time ago,
in Galaxy far away.
I brought up the fact that there are times, and this happens in other committees, BLT committee in particular, we get a notice, a 30-day notice, and then we don't hear anything from the person again. And so, on rare occasion that happens with BLP, and then Nellie sends an administrative letter to the SLA saying, we got this notice, because technically after 30 days, the applicant can go to SLA and, go ahead and say, oh, I've done everything I'm supposed to do. And so we write an administrative letter saying basically it's a denial because you just never heard from the applicant. So I have 3 of those today. We received 3 applications in the month of May that I was, prepping, thinking that they would be here tonight. I never heard from them. They never filled out our application online. They never responded to any of my emails, multiple emails, and they never filled out the application. So I'm just letting you know. And I brought this up months, actually probably a year ago or 2, that I would like to be able to just do the same thing that we do on the BLP committee, do an administrative denial. That doesn't stop them from going ahead and having them going to the going to OCM and Cannabis Control Board. And hopefully if the Cannabis Control Board reads a letter and says, hey, applicant, you should go back and talk to the community, that'd be great,
Do you need us to vote on whether or not we allow you to send the administrative letter, which is what
You don't need to vote, I just wanna highlight, and I'm happy to, I just wanna put it on record, so in case they ever come saying that they never heard from us, so the 3 are, Fuma Incorporated, which is at 661 10th Avenue, and that the applicant is Melissa Guzman. The other one is, Firehouse, Dalton is Dispensaries Incorporated, which is at 877 8th Avenue, that's Dalton Sachs. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna say the third one, that's the second one, and the third one is 1027 6th Avenue 1 Incorporated, which is actually at the location they're interested in is at 599 10th Avenue, and they don't actually have a name, they're just using Ken Singleton Law, and they've never responded.
Okay, thank you. New business on my side, Nichols, which was mentioned by Danny, which is opened on 8th Avenue and I believe 43rd.
Yeah, 43rd.
43rd. I'd like to just be on record that they continue to not comply with what should be clear rules. They've had doors open. They actually had during the playoffs a tent set up with some type of party going on outside. They do play music outside. This is clearly not in the spirit of what was represented to us about how they would operate this business. And I know that we have made it a note, or didn't we have an administrative letter on Nichols?
Not on their activity, but I'd have to look back.
Okay.
We wrote OCM about when we heard about Nichols.
So the reason why I'm bringing it up is I do think that, even if we have or have not sent
I'm
administrative.
sorry, I'm getting my locations for some, what's the location again?
This is the one on Eighth Avenue and 43rd.
No, right, we did the one on Ninth Avenue, music outside.
That's a Canada Dreams.
Yeah, we did catch.
So we have not, or we do not think we have a administrative letter, but I honestly do have concerns that if one of the tenets of wanting to ensure that we have legal is that it will help drive out the illicit, because that's the activity we don't want to see. And when we see folks that aren't complying, that creates, for me, a lot of conflict. I don't know how the rest of the task force
It
feels.
looks like they're like. Dude, I walk past them like all the time and I always like, I'm like, is that legal? I'm like checking the sign, I'm like, that's Nichols, right? The one we approved?
On 48th Street, right?
Is that 48?
48, yeah.
No, I think it's 43rd.
Really?
You know what, you might be right, but Nichols is definitely the one with the silver coating, they have the doors open, we've had pictures of them having, is that the one that Frank Mozu?
I believe that's the same one in French.
Is we approve that, or did they open up?
Yeah.
Right,
So, that is the case where there was, the applicant was a young woman and her family went ahead and applied. We did actually approve it, but they opened the day after we.
Right, they were in the process
They
of
were in the
opening,
process,
yeah.
and then they just opened.
Right.
Right.
And their hours are not the hours that they indicated, so, you know, my biggest, I think what I need to clarify is exactly the
I
location.
think I do too, because I swear now I'm thinking we did do an admin letter. So let's close the
Loop here.
loop here and figure that.
So-
But that was about music purely, when they were doing music outside, so I think this is a whole nother level, and so I think it.
But I do think for clarity's sake, it is important that we get the right location. But Nichols is the one that you've observed. I think we've had, and we can actually look it up, we've received reports from community members of their activities during the playoffs. And other times of what looks like the activity that we're seeing from the illicit shops. And so what I was hoping is that we, as a task force, can write to openly ask OCM to look into this license and to question it. So the location, Nichols, here we go.
It's 978 that.
It is 48. I
You,
was thinking a different one.
oh, you are thinking, this is the one I was thinking. I apologize for giving the wrong address. But you are correct, Sir Brian. Thank you for correcting. And are you seeing one on 43rd Street that has a problem as well? That may actually
Yeah,
not be
but I
legal.
don't know if that one's legal.
I don't think.
There's one I walk past all the time at 43rd, but I'm not sure it's legal.
Is that on the
Okay, so this
east
is not
east
the
side
one
of the
to
street
do.
or west side of the street, the one you're talking about on 43rd? Cause I think that's on the east side of the street. And that might be legal and it's not us, cause it's CB side. Oh.
No, the one I'm thinking of is on like, no,
west.
9 and
Oh, 9th
43rd,
Avenue,
yeah.
okay. Okay, so for clarity, since we are being recorded and on YouTube in perpetuity, we are talking about Nichols, and again, that address that we just mentioned.
And for clarity, we did not, that's not when I didn't know.
It's at 797 8th Avenue, and what I'm proposing is that we, as a task force, take up, writing to OCM to indicate that they're not, abiding by the rules that they have written and not abiding by what they had indicated that they would, do for the community and not operating as good neighbors, and we would like OCM to look into this.
And would we copy them on the letter?
I think,
Happy to do so.
I think that would be a great idea,
Yeah,
Rodney.
happy to do so.
So I can't make a proposal.
You can't make a motion, you can make a proposal.
Oh, yeah,
But I just wanted to add on to that, if we can, friendly amendment, I think we wanna clarify, be very clear in our letter, because we've learned this lesson, as we know, that OCM. Really does say what they're limited into, what they're supposed to actually do anything about. And so we wanna make sure we're gonna highlight the things that they are again, they are doing against actual. The cannabis, law in terms of operation, whether it's the doors open or anything along those lines. If there's additional things like music or tents or all that stuff, we should copy,
Really.
so,
other agencies that we think would also need to be enforcing on that. And I understand their point being that OCM
Yes.
should actually take some leadership.
Yeah.
And do some of this and say, hey, guys, you're not, whether it's my job to do it or not. You have to follow the rules, I just wanna be, I just think there's.
Understood, and so in this particular case, I'm passing around a picture where there was a tent outside and had the Knicks finals, well, not finals, they didn't make it, but at the Knicks playoff game. But I think the key here is we can't, as you just said, Jesse, bring up things like they won't do anything about a tent, but here we can clearly see in this picture, the door is wide open, which is indicating that there is a connection between this tent and this party and the cannabis shop.
Which agency would do something about that, Tim? Department of Transportation?
No, I mean,
It could be sanitation
Yeah, I would-
for signage.
Sanitation and PD, I think in general, and I do agree that I would, what we should be lending it to say is that, while those things simply that I understand their point of view is that they just approve the license, right? They review and approve the license, though. We think they should be taking more leadership here. They're not, I don't expect them to write them a summons for the tent, but I think they should be, working with the other. With the appropriate agencies to say, okay, don't make us come back here, or we're gonna end up giving you NYPD or sanitation.
Some question, I would have to assume that every community board in the city, at least let's say Manhattan, is facing similar stuff. Does something like this get brought up at borough board, Phil?
What the issue in general?
In general, just a discussion about.
I think early on, from what I understand, it came up in Borough Board a lot about the illicit shops. I don't think we've had enough legal shops open to have it swell to the point where there's
Yeah.
bad behavior.
OCM certainly has, I believe, been to borough board, but I don't think they've been on this particular topic, which is, after they open up and how they're operating and how this happens. I mean, I gotta say, it's not it's not a new world for us in the sense that we have similar issues with bars and restaurants, right? Like, when, we issue a license and then they become bad neighbors, unfortunately, SLA is not the one to come and do anything about it. It's usually the PD, sanitation maybe.
But then I think the suggestion of copying the operator, but also then copying these other agencies that may
Yeah.
have some hand in helping would be helpful. I do know that NYPD does have its cannabis task force as well, so adding them to the list would be helpful. So Tina, I think you were gonna make a motion?
Yes, the motion is to write that letter.
Okay, so a motion to write a letter to OCM and other agencies that may be able to provide some help concerning the behavior of Nichols at 787 8th Avenue, where they are not complying with OCM rules or abiding by promises made to the community. Do I have a second?
Just clarify, and we're fine with making this an admin letter. I don't think we need to wait till July 23rd to send this letter.
Okay.
We're asking agencies and things to follow the rules, existing rules. We're not asking for them.
I was looking for the letter to be stronger. Can we do it with a ratification?
You can.
Hey, we could, if we're gonna do it forward, we should just do a regular letter, I think, because
Okay.
like,
And it's.
ratification is sort of, there's the time pressure, and this isn't really time pressure, it's
I
just.
agree,
Uh,
but Jess was just.
it's just annoying.
So here's a thought. I think that it doesn't hurt,
Usually the ratification comes around an idea because we have to get it in by a certain date or
Yeah.
something, so that's what, I just wanna be able to say like that's, at full board, I'm sure you all. Don't necessarily like voting on letters that have already been sent down and you don't like something in it and there's no point in talking. So I just wanna bring that back to the point.
So you bring up a great point. So that begs the question, and this is open for discussion. Clearly, the things that we're concerned about, we would like someone to address to yesterday, not today. The only reason why I thought perhaps bringing it to full board is that there's a little bit more weight to the letter, not to say your admin letters aren't meaty. But again,
Those are the letters they read.
they will be, I'm agnostic, if.
The shorter the letter, more likely to be on it.
OCM doesn't give a shit,
I know.
send the letter ASAP. They don't care if there are 50 community board members signatures on.
I know, this is a good point. I mean, OCM is tasked with trying to just move product that's been grown for 2 years,
Yeah.
right? So, any case, does anybody, I know you've made the motion. It hasn't been seconded yet. Does anybody have any issue if we now shift that to being an admin letter? so that we can have that be addressed in a more timely manner, and we can, if we'd like to, even bring it up at full board, that we sent an admin letter, just so that people know that we're being.
Advisory, advising, that's what we're.
Okay,
Yeah, keep.
Good.
are we good with that?
Keep everybody in the loop.
Okay, so thank you for making the motion, we're not going forward, no one seconded it anyway, and we're writing an admin letter.
Yep.
Okay. All right, last bit of new business, it's also in the same vein, we had approved Bud, NYC, Bud NYC. I don't know if you recall, Bud NYC, 39th Street, they have a store operating in Astoria for the last year, the operator had a restaurant in the area, so he has a connection. We asked when that was approved by the full board that he comply with signage rules that are in zoning text. I had sent an email to you with a picture, there is a sign on the corner of 39 and 9 that seems still rather large, and there's blinking lights and signage on the location, and I don't even think that they've opened yet, because I do not think that they received that license. So, I just wanted to there be able to write an admin letter to remind them that they did agree to
Yeah.
adjusting the signage to comply with zoning law. Right. Okay, we're good with that? Any other, no, nothing? Motion? Is that a motion to?
Good night.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. All right, we are done. Thank you, everybody, for showing up on holiday.
Thank you.
Okay.